Yeah.
what that technique is. Getting quickly to Squid and Whale, I love it. How did you happen to get in on this one? It's such an amazing part for you.
My agent in New York knew the producer, Peter Newman, and he knew that they were having trouble with a couple of guys that were attached and then not attached and couldn't commit. And he said, you might be able to steal this. And I read it and just said, what do I got to do? And he said, go meet Noah. So I flew into New York and met with Noah Baumbach. We had a 3-hour lunch. And one of the first things I told him was, I said, this is very funny, this movie. And he goes, you're the first actor to tell me that. And I go, well, this, that, this, that, this, that. He goes, yeah, he goes, I thought I wrote a comedy. I guess not. And yeah, and I'm going, I get it though, man. I mean, there's tragedy and there's a lot of pain in there, but there's a lot of very funny things in it. So from that moment on, we were, I think Noah was very happy with fighting for me to get the movie. And once they convinced the money that I could do it, and Laura had signed off, which was great, I was in.
Where's the beard come from? Is that built into the character in the script and everything?
It's based on Noah's own childhood and his own father. A lot of fiction in the film, however. His own father has a beard, and in some of the younger pictures of his father, you know, in his 40s, early 50s, there was a beard. So he asked me, "Would you mind growing a beard for it?" And I said, "You know, I'd be happy to." So I started that in April, and we started shooting in July. I shot. I had a part in Mitch Albom's "The Five People You Meet in Heaven" for ABC, and you know, they said, "Great, we really see you in a handlebar mustache." I said, "Well, get used to a beard, because after you guys, I go into Squid and the Whale."
Well, I love the
and they said, "No, we can't have a beard." I said, "Well, then, thank you, but I'm going to do Squid and the Whale." So you can see me in Five People with this scarf wrapped around me. They're doing everything they can to hide the beard.
Well, it's almost like you practice in some way, which was with Dan Harris in Imaginary Heroes. The father you play there has a very grumpy kind of side to him. And it was also an amazing turn, yet a very distinctly different character.
Yeah, distinctly different. They that guy in Imagineer Heroes is definitely going through, I mean, just the grieving process and the guilt and everything that he goes through in that film, different than what Bernard goes through or doesn't go through.
What do you think Bernard is going through? That's the thing. What is he?
At the heart of it is the realization that he will never get the acclaim that he thinks he deserves. And there's pain with that, disappointment with that, being unable to control that, being unable to manufacture that. And it's what's pathetic, and I think at times Bernard is aware that the people he's dropping names like George Plimpton to his own son. And he's really, you know, but it feels so good, you know. It feels he feels so good about himself when, you know, Anna's character says, "Oh, I love that. That's one of my favorite of your stories." Oh, it happens to be one of Mailer's favorite of my books. You know, you're in good company, you know, kind of thing. I mean, he just the basking in the glory of him.
Working with young Jesse Eisenberg, Jesse becomes the acolyte, and Walt becomes kind of the acolyte character who worships the father and then becomes disillusioned with the father, and eventually says, "The man in that room wants lunch at the hospital." But I mean, working with that kid, he's so good. He was good in Roger Dodger, and he's very good in this. And he really follows you almost like a pilot fish to a whale. But he also develops his own character. Talk about working with him and how that relationship.
He's a great kid who's very serious about acting and really studies and works hard at it, which is all you can ask of a young actor. I mean, he's professional. He knows his lines. He does his research. He really, you can count on him. And you know, when you're working with younger actors or even, you know, kids, you know, that isn't always the case. But Jesse and Owen, I mean, it was very quickly into it. They were colleagues. You know, we were. You know, you could rely on them, and off camera, you really try to make sure that they're having a good time. That it's, you know, you develop the trick to working with these guys, and is to develop a trust off camera, and then you'll have a trust on camera too.
Those tennis scenes, those were interesting. Were those hard to shoot? Like that?
Only in that we played tennis 12 hours that day, so I couldn't walk for a week. I was a decent high school athlete, so when I'm playing Billy, I'm doing Jonathan Baumbach, who's Noah's father. Jonathan, that's how Jonathan plays tennis, who was about 2 courts down, because he heard we got the whole bubble on Roosevelt Island, so there was going to be free tennis time. So Jonathan came, and he got to be in the movie as a tennis player a little bit. But every time he hit a forehand, he'd come up off the court. Both his feet would come up off. So that was me just kind of doing Jonathan.
Now, you talk a little bit about this man who doesn't think he's ever going to get the acclaim he feels he deserves. It's tricky to say, but many of us think that you have a wonderful career, and you've been very successful. There was a time in which you might have felt that yourself.
Oh, I think every actor does. I certainly do, and drew upon it for this role. I mean, it's after I met Jonathan, I came back into rehearsal, started doing an impression of him, and it was false. And Noah and I sat in the room, and this is the beauty of independent film, is that it's just the two of you. There are no phone calls, no junior executives coming in. The producers aren't anywhere to be seen. It's just you and your director going, how are we going to fix this? And I said, I got to personalize this. And I did 2 things. The writer's mind, I understand. I write plays for my theater company, so I understand the solitariness of that and how you can be imprisoned by your own head and locked in your own head, which I think Bernard is. I think Bernard also, there's no line between being absorbed with what you're writing and being self-absorbed. And he's lost that distinction. The other thing was that he's, when you move to the Midwest, and you become an actor and not a star, and we moved there because family first, career second. That's just what we decided to do for the kids. Didn't want to raise them in an industry town in L.A. But you give that up. You give up recognition. You give up money. You give up, awards and things like that.
Kathleen?
Yeah, with a K.
I was going to ask.
And
CH?
yeah, and so that was the choice. But underappreciated, yeah, it's there. I don't wake up in the middle of the night kicking things, but it's there. So when it came time to personalize Bernard, the writer's mind, and then that underappreciated thing, I just kind of poured gasoline on that and lit it. And it was just, then we ran through the scenes with that in mind, and Bernard just burst out.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I watched Something Wild last night, which is one of my favorite films of yours.
Oh, yeah, I always like that one.
It's an amazing film.
First time I ever saw Ray Liotta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was his first film.
Was that-
Came right off the soaps, I think.
Were you at all disappointed at how that was received? Because was that thought to be a bigger vehicle than it turned out to be?
I think it was a better movie than it was than initially. I mean, it came and went in 2 weeks. I think.
Yeah.
I think it was marketing. It was a movie that was started out as one thing and then turned, and they didn't know how to market it, and
Right.
I think admitted that. I mean, they kind of pretended it was a Chevy Chase comedy at the time. This is '86, I think, '87, and
It grosses less than Purple Rose of Cairo, it turns out.
Right. But through the wonderful thing called DVDs and all of that, it lives on. So people are finding it and seeing it and asking questions like that. But I think that how do you market a movie? And was they kind of swung and missed on that one.
Talk about working with Laura Linney. She's so under, as I said in my review, she grabs the spotlight by pretending to refuse it. Her character, she plays Joan very low key, and yet she's so vital.
Oh yeah, she doesn't come off what she has done with her life. She's been with other men. She admits it. She has some of my favorite lines in the film. I mean, Walt says something about, I never thought I'd be, in a divorced family. Well, now you are. I mean, just deal with it, and because she's not going to alter her life, and she's in that room of the really great actors we have, and actors know when they're with somebody like that because she makes you better, and you got to bring everything you have because she's that good. And the thing that not only does she have such an attention to craft and technique and all the mechanics of acting, but her instincts are right there. I mean, they're like nerve endings. And, we're all kind of students of Meryl Streep school,
Yes.
in my opinion. And Meryl's the king or queen of instinctive acting, and it's moment to moment. And when you're with somebody like Laura Linney, it really is that scene in the doorway. It's just ping pong. It's just back and forth, and I mean, it was 2-3 takes each one of us, and you're just using her. The closer it gets, the more you use the other actor, and Laura's great at that, and you reciprocate, and now you've got chemistry.
I was very struck by the fact that in the script, obviously, and it comes to her character, she calls the younger son Pickle and the older son Chicken. And it only comes up a couple of times, but she really burns that into you, that's what she does, and your character doesn't do that. She has a very distinct, about that, you look like your father, Pickle. I'm sorry, it's a bad habit, Chicken. She says
Yeah.
that, and it's beautiful. And she sells it, even though you're
Yeah.
this is coming from.
Yeah, she does.
Can you talk about screenwriting, or do you do any screenwriting?
I have.
I also represent written by Screen Actors.
Oh yeah, I used to get that.
Okay.
I mean, only don't.
Member?
I don't. No. You mean WGA?
Yeah, WGA as opposed to SAG.
No. I mean, I wrote the 2 screenplay. I did 2 indies. I wrote, acted, directed.
Name them, would you?
Escanaba into Moonlight.
Can you spell the
Escanaba into Moonlight. Duh. DA. It's because that's how they talk, eh? So it's the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And then a movie called Super Sucker. Yeah, I wrote the 2 screenplays for that. But I don't want to do it anymore. I have a theater company, and
Right, you've done 10 or 15, did you say, scripts?
10 plays.
A couple of, were any of them turned into films?
No.
Yeah.
No. I love writing for the theater versus the indies and writing, acting, directing indies, because it will find an audience. I will write the play, and once I've done enough drafts in the workshop, we will open and it will find its audience. I can work for a year on a script, another year on pre-production, production, post-production, and open it and no one will see it. And that's 2 years of my life. So I have a theater company where I can get the writing Jones off by writing plays, and I mean that's the reason basically. And then I write songs, so I can get it all. I can do that writing thing somewhere else. So I just don't write screenplays anymore.
How long have you been doing the rock thing? How long have you been singing?
The rock thing?
No, with the guitar, because I haven't actually heard you sing that. So.
I've been playing for about 30 years, but I never, it was just for fun. It was a diary. There are about 300 songs in a notebook.
You stay with acoustic?
Yeah, I've really studied Delta blues, and Cab Mo's a friend of mine, and I went over to his house recently for a guitar lesson, and I just really love all those guys,
You know Roy Rogers?
Oh, the slide, yeah.
Yeah, the slide guitar.
Yeah, he's amazing. But I write stuff, and I about 5 years ago they pulled, in an effort to raise money for my theater company, they put me on stage Christmas week and New Year's week. And maybe people would pay money to see a train wreck, see the celebrities sing. Everybody, come on in. So, absolutely. I mean, when you got to raise $500,000 a year, this is what you do. So after the second, third, and fourth year, it started to go really well. I started to understand what this was. Very Arlo Guthrie, Stevie Goodman, John Prine, Christine Lavin, Loudon Wainwright, all those guys that can stand on a stage, hold your attention with just a guitar, and the songs. And a lot of them are funny. There's songs like My Baby, Baby, Take Your Tongue Out of My Mouth, I'm Kissing You Goodbye. If William Shatner can, I can too. There's a song called Dirty Harry Blues, which is about a movie I made with Clint, where he shot and killed me. which for an actor is a great honor. So the song is all about the chronicling of the night that Clint killed me. And then there's a 12-minute song, 14-minute song called Recreational Vehicle, about a disastrous RV trip I took with my then young family to Cooperstown, New York, and at a truck stop in Erie, Pennsylvania, I gassed up, got recognized as Jeff Bridges, got back into the RV, pulled onto the highway, and realized I'd forgotten my wife. And that's 12 minutes. That's 12 minutes under this
I was
song.
talking blues with her last night, isn't it?
Yeah, they kind of sort of tried to do that. If I'd known they were going to do that, I'd have brought my guitar and done it.
If your wife had been played by Laura Linney, you'd really be in trouble.
Yeah, we'd make a movie out of it.
I see the Gibson. Do you have a Martin?
I got about 10 guitars. I have a 1932 Martin OM-28. I got a 1934 Martin C2 that they took the arch top piece off, which it just sounded horrible with the F holes. Martin didn't make very many of them. And a guy up in Elderly Instruments in Lansing, great vintage store, took the top piece off and put a new top piece on, the kind of that Martin uses. That's my working guitar when I go play clubs and stuff. It's kind of like a 1934 sound, except for the top piece, so you can kind of put all the hardware in it and not feel like you're beating up your grandmother. 1946 Gibson J45. This one's a 1959 CF100. I bought it at 23rd Street, Dan's Guitars on 23rd and 7th in New York, which is right next to Hotel Chelsea. And I bought it, paid for it, and he goes, I want you to understand that you bought it. This isn't the sell. You've already bought the guitar. I said, yeah, Dan. All right. This was one of Dylan's guitars. Yeah. Who stayed at the Hotel Chelsea on occasion. And what happened was that it was sitting somewhere, and somebody came and stepped on it. Oh, and broke the top piece. So it's a new top piece, and then somebody lacquered it all up. And basically brought it in and said, here, Dan, sell it. Do whatever you want with it. Dan and Bob didn't want it anymore. Not bad.
Did Noah Baumbach ever really tell you what Squid and Whale means?
No, but it's in the script. I mean, once you read the script, you kind of get it. It's a metaphor for the parents, I think, or...
I love the scene where Walt's character finally sees it at the museum, and the way they play the camera in his face and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a really... Jesse does a great job with that speech about two-thirds of the way through when he reveals Squid and the Whale and what it means to him. It's a great speech, and it plays well off that young shrink's face, where the guy's going, oh my God, is that a reveal?
It's a nice use, not a clumsy use of metaphor, but a very, very subtle one. That
Yeah.
Makes it work. Any memories off of Terms of Endearment, which was the first thing I ever saw you in, and I liked it because it was set in Houston. Was it actually shot in Houston?
Somewhat in Houston and Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah, because it was a garage apartment, I remember, which is a very peculiarly Texas thing that you as a couple had. And I just loved the way that was all packaged. It felt
Yeah.
very Houston-like.
Yeah.
For a big film, it felt very real, very down.
It was back in the days before Canada. You shot where it took place.
Yeah. It was like Houston doesn't have the right kind of curbs and everything, and it was there. It was like
Yeah.
the right
No, it
place.
was. We were in
Supposed to be it.
Oak. No, where were we? What Woods? Something. There's the rich part of Houston and
River
the
Oaks, yeah.
River Oaks. Yeah.
Exactly.
We were right in there.
It was very believable. That's one thing that's always anchored that film. And I think you saw it in Park Slope, right? You shoot in Park Slope for Squid and Whale.
Park Slope,
Yeah.
Brooklyn. Yeah. Yeah, all over Brooklyn.
Where do you find your ramshackle, where Bernard's ramshackle house is? Is that?
That was Brooklyn.
Yeah.
We were somewhere deep in Brooklyn.
Laura Linney's got a script or a book she's writing in the film called Peugeot.
It's a story about the Peugeot story. Something to do with a car, yeah.
I wondered. I know. I'm probably the only person in America who can relate to that. This is one of my works, and there's my Peugeot.
Oh,
It's downstairs now.
excellent.
I know. It's 505. I never had a 504, which is what you were driving the film.
Huh. Yeah, they had to pull all those 86 cars out. They had to go searching for them. And
Oh yeah, that must have been, 86 is a funny period.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
in-between period.
yeah, and on no budget, and just they did a really great job of finding what they could.
Yeah.
1.5 million, 23 days.
Yep.
It's it's a remarkable effort. I think all of those things are.
What do you think its acceptance is going to be as in a film for an audience? Do you think it's going to become a popular film, or will it languish in some other state?
I think it's got a good chance. I mean, a film like this needs a critical reaction to it. It needs critical acclaim. Because it's, I don't see it making 100 million, but I see it for people that are interested in something that is very common nowadays. I mean, 50% of the marriages end in divorce, right? So, and there are a lot of children of divorce who, I've had a lot of people like that in their 30s and 40s come up to me and just go, I went through this.
I did too.
Right, and so there's a lot of that, and they're attracted to almost like, is my experience unique, and then you see this and it kind of speaks universally to, the importance of family, and even the smartest people, can't overcome pain and emotion and loss and rejection. I mean, no matter how smart you think you are. I hope that people can, relate to it. I think they will if they go.
And the way the couple fights over the kids, actually, he's more interested in getting custody, getting those visitations. What is the dynamic there, do you think? His sense of wanting one of the kids to be in his house all the time.
That's going to have to be the last issue.
Yeah.
He wants somebody to adore him. He wants somebody to tell him he's great. He wants someone that he can talk about what he's writing, and he needs an audience.
Yeah.
Because I think the last thing Bernard really wants is to be alone, because then he'd have to be honest with himself.